The animal world is really an extremely interesting world. It often throws unique surprises at us. The flora and fauna has a lot hidden among it. One such hidden feature is the sort of superpowers that some animals have in them. Although, it's not like a human version of a Batman or Iron Man, but animals sometimes exhibit characteristics and powers which leave us in complete awestruck. After all, we certainly do not expect the so-called wild beings to be possessing of superpowers. However interesting that might sound, it is even more interesting to know that some of the animals' superpower are vested in their children. There are superpowers in some animals which they are born with. For example, for the cathartes carrion feeding birds have invented a rather weird and disgusting form of defense. If there's a predator nearby, the cathartes will spit out the contents of their stomachs onto it. They this skill since birth and it'll stay with them forever. However, the same might not be true for all animals. Some animals exhibit abilities which they lose as they grow up. There are some unique skills which only animals' babies have. A normal fully grown duck won't be able to climb a wall, but interestingly, a duckling can. That might just be the craziest thing you'd ever see. Although a duckling is not naturally designed to be much of a climber, however, it can climb a vertical wall because it turns out that the structure of their bodies support these little ducklings, which weigh from 1 to 1.5 ounces to achieve the feat. Also, they have tiny but very tenacious claws on their feet. Most often these claws are used for climbing like special equipment for climbers. Also, the duckling's center of gravity is positioned in such a way that they can crawl up on a vertical wall unless it's perfectly smooth. Studies show that you don't need mother duck to make ducklings climb walls by training. Sometimes they're ready to climb the walls if there's a treat waiting for them above. But the adult ducks are never seen climbing the walls. Thus, it can be deduced that with age the birds simply forget what they once knew how to do. However, in the defense of the grown-ups, it can be said that although their claws are fully developed, but no number of claws can help when you have such an impressively heavy body. Moreover, they don't even need to improve their climbing skills because they can just fly wherever they need. It's faster and you definitely won't fall in the process. Now the really important question is why only the babies get the special powers. Don't you think this is a little unfair? Even humans, for example, we are born so weak and helpless that they can die from any little thing they do. Also, we do not have mechanisms to protect us from predators or even fur to protect us from the cold. However, we don't need them because other people take care of human babies by providing them with everything they need. Many baby animals also need protection, but nature took care of that to a certain extent. Consider the newborn little penguins. Have you seen what they look like? It is as if they were dressed by their mother, who was very worried her kids would be cold, so she put her grandfather's old fur coat on them. And though, actually, this brown cover is not very thick but fluffy feathers that help keep penguins warm. When they grow up, their plumage changes to normal. The feathers are tightly fitted to each other, and from the side and reminds more of short hair. But what happens if you take away these unique skills of the animal? We are not even talking about babies now. Everything is clear when it comes to them. However, the result is sad but predictable about adults. Take for example, there's little difference a giraffe without a long neck won't be able to reach the leaves from the trees and will lose the chance to fight for the female, which means it will die without leaving any offspring. After changing the color of its fur, the polar bear will become noticeable in the midst of snow and ice. That will hamper its chances of getting food, hence might also leading to its death. Also, for example, without speed, the cheetah will lose the only advantage that helps it get prey and compete with other predators. In the end, well, you get the idea. No future. However, while for some animals, also, losing their skills means certain death. Overs calmly part with them when they grow up. Chicks of Hansen, a tropical bird with a funny hairdo, not only have legs and wings, they also have claws on their thumbs, something like an inheritance from a great-great-grandmother who lived in the days of different pterodactyls. Since Hoats and chicks cannot fly, but swim, well, they jump out of the nest onto the water at the slightest hint of danger. Generally a solid plan, unless you're hunted by a crocodile. When the danger is gone, the chicks need to return to the nest before the mother notices they are wandering around unattended. It is at this point that the claws come in handy here, helping the Hodsons to cling to a tree and climb to the desired height. But as soon as the bird grows up, the claws disappear. It is probably not to interfere with the flight. And while we're on the subject of wings, let's take a look at the chickens. Everyone knows that flying is not their strong suit, but it was not always this way. The red jungle fowl, the species from which the domesticated chickens descended about 8,000 years ago, still flies excellently over short distances. However, certainly not quite like the eagle, but the result is still good. So how come the domestic chickens lost this really useful ability? Well, if we go deep, we find out that perhaps people are to blame for this. We'd bred chickens for so long that their flying muscles have become too large and their body mass too heavy. Of course, humanity had clear gastronomic goals in mind, but as a result, in order to take off, modern domestic chicken needs larger wings and evolution is powerless here. However, chickens have another ability that people could not take away. The chickens themselves simply do not seem to know about it. Chickens can swim. As a matter of fact, almost all animals on the planet have this skill, but only chickens are so shocked by this. However, they just prefer not to. It is quite understandable, as they have no membranes on their feet to paddle, properly also don't have water-repellent feathers. Even their body is surprisingly weak. If a chicken spends enough time in the water to get all of its feathers wet, it'll drown, not being able to withstand its weight. Of course, seems like the tiny beings have better lives as young chicks. That's all for today. I hope you liked the video. If you did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so that you never miss any amazing video from us.